Welcome to the Massacre Matinee.
How's it going?
It's going.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's actually my turn to do another one. I'm not prepared.
I get to sit
I am
and
prepared.
relax.
Who am I kidding?
And if you hear clicking, it's me fidgeting with my Apple Pencil.
Not sponsored.
No, not sponsored, but
Apple?
I have to fidget
Let's
with
talk.
stuff. Yeah.
I have a
Get
cat.
this woman her iPad, okay?
Yes.
And the Apple Pencil.
And the little screen cover that sounds like paper. That thing's
I have
so
an extra one of them, so
satisfying.
if you just get the same one, then.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
It's so nice.
So, today, I'm going to tell you about the McDonald's massacre.
Okay, I actually haven't heard about this one. Like, I think I've heard the name of it, but I have no idea.
See, that actually really surprises me, because it's kind of like, maybe it's just me. I feel like it's a bit more well-known than you would think for something that happened back in the 80s.
Yeah.
But it was,
it
was pretty intense.
I might know it once I start hearing details about it.
You might.
Because it might be just, like, trapped in, like, some weird part of my brain. There's a lot
You might. As the details come out, we'll see. You might just be like, oh my god, I know exactly what one you're talking about. But I'm still gonna sit here and make you listen to the story.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I mean,
I've been excited about this one. About being able to talk about this one. There's actually a documentary about this one, which it's called 77 Minutes, which is how long the situation took place from the first to the last bullet fired. So this happened in San Ysidro, and San Ysidro is a border town. It's in Southern California, butts right up against Tijuana, Mexico. It's the American side of Tijuana, which is important later on. But first things first, we're going to talk about James Huberty. He's...
What a last name.
Right? Huberty?
God.
It's intense.
You know he got bullied.
Probably. I'm not sure. I mean, well...
Or his nickname was Huber.
He did get bullied, but he didn't get bullied for the reasons that you might think. He didn't get bullied for his last name, at least not... I don't think so. I should not be, like, drinking carbonated beverages before this.
That's why I went with,
it
my
was
white bitch drink.
I
of
brought
the
it
Starbucks.
home. I brought it home from work. I was finishing it.
Good.
I'm proud of me.
Very
Because I had to
proud.
dump one out earlier because I found it on his table. I think I left it there last night. Anyway, so I'm going to tell you about James Huberty. He was actually born in 1942, so a post-war baby, post-World War II baby, kind of.
Middle of war, baby.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, 'cause-
He grew up in that really kind of difficult time, but he was born in Ohio, 1942. He actually got polio at age 3.
Ooh.
Which he ended up having to wear leg braces, and it left him with a limp. So that's actually part of what got him picked on, was he had that limp at such a young age. And
Man,
he
kids
was
are assholes.
right, and he was always kind of like antisocial.
Yeah.
In a way, like I mean, you get bullied, you're gonna...
Right, and I also feel like a lot of kids born during the war kind of were, because I mean, by the time that they were 4 or 5, like their parents are also coming home from the war, completely changed.
Right. Which actually does play into it a little bit. I'm not sure if his dad was in the war, but maybe it was just bad timing. But his mom actually left and just kind of like left him with his dad in 1950. She was just like, I don't want it anymore.
I'm done.
It's possible his dad was in the war. I'm not sure. His dad was kind of a hard ass, I guess. He was tough love.
Gotcha.
Is what I kind of gathered on it a little bit. But we're gonna kind of jump forward a fair amount. He did actually love target shooting ever since he was a kid, and that plays into it a bit too. But we're gonna jump forward a bit because his history at this point isn't super important. I mean, it seems to be kind of a general, like, for lack of a better way to put it, outcast sort of history. Like, he was bullied as a kid, rough situation at home. He had a physical disability, ailment with that limp kind of thing. So, like, he had a typical but a difficult life, but like a typical difficult life, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But so we're gonna jump forward to when he's grown up, when he's a big boy. So he married his wife Etna in 1965, and they met at college. I believe he was going for like mortuary or something like that. He had a few different jobs.
Oh,
but
so he was really going like.
I don't want to go too much into his history. I mean, this happening when it did, I'll be honest about. He's not alive anymore.
Yeah.
How that happens will come up, obviously. But I guess that makes me feel a little bit more okay to say that I lost track of where I was going with this. I forgot where I was in my notes.
Like college.
I don't want to go too much into his backstory because I don't want to glorify who he was as a person.
Right. I get that. That's why
so
I didn't
just
want to
gonna...
go into childhoods, but sometimes the childhood makes it make sense.
It does. It does. So I'm kind of touching on some little things. So he met and married his wife Etna in 1965. They had 2 daughters together. One was born in 1972 and the other in 1974, so an older and a younger daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And he was super abusive and violent.
Not surprising.
And as far as I can gather, I'm wondering if that was partly because that's probably how he saw his dad treat his mom. I'm not sure, but his mom did leave, so it's
knowing
possible.
That timeline of like when he was born, it was almost like it was more rare for people to not be beating their significant others than it was for them to like.
Yeah, times have changed for sure.
Oh yeah,
but this was
like coming off the war and in the war. It was just such a stressful time that like they just.
But
I'm
this
not
is
condoning it, obviously.
In an extreme, a bit more, and
Okay.
he wouldn't have been able to go to war, I don't think, anyway, because of him having had polio and him having the limp. I don't think he would have passed military physicals for Vietnam.
No, unless he got drafted. I think that's the only way.
I'm not sure. But anywho,
I don't know how the draft worked back then.
So he was super abusive and violent, and in 1976, his wife was like, "Hey, like, this isn't normal. Like, people aren't doing this in their homes. Like, something's wrong. You should probably try and get some help." And he was like, "No, I'm fine. I'm a man. Men don't have feelings. I'm fine. It's whatever.
Don't tell me what to do."
Right. And he ended up kind of just getting this cranky / paranoid vibe. Like, he started feeling like the world was out to get him.
Gotcha.
And like the world owed him something, and he kept track of like all the debts that were owed to him by the world and like owed to him by society and stuff. And he started getting like super into conspiracy theories and things like that, and started to get like anti-government and stuff. I don't
want to like throw diagnoses out there, but it sounds like slightly schizophrenic too.
It's possible, but I mean, neither of us are clinical psychiatrists.
Yeah, right.
So...
But it's just that the schizophrenic like paranoia.
Right.
Because I believe I had a family member like that. I'm not entirely sure, but they just get like super, super, super paranoid like about anything and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea if obviously I don't know if that was him. It's just that kind of where my brain went to.
It's possible. It's definitely a possibility. Unfortunately, like I said, he didn't get that kind of help that he needed at that time. Jumping ahead to 1982, he actually got laid off from his job, and his wife claimed that he was hearing voices, which ties into the schizophrenia.
Yeah, that's why.
But,
oh yeah, I would have really picked up on it then there too.
Right, but the thought is maybe it was stress induced because of being laid off. I mean, his wife didn't work outside the home, I don't believe. So in 1983, he attempted suicide, but his wife stopped him. And he seemed like super pissy that she stopped. Like, why would you stop me? Like, why would you interrupt this kind of thing? But for some reason, just kept chugging along. So in the spring, they ended up selling their 6-unit apartment building because he lost his job, money's getting tight. They've got to figure out a way to make money last. He's like, aha, the American dollar, it spends better in Mexico. So we'll sell our 6-unit apartment building, we'll go down to Mexico, and we'll live like kings. Because $100,000 down in Mexico is worth way much more than it is here.
Are they still in Ohio at that point? What was it, Ohio that he was born?
So they were still, I believe, in Ohio when he had this apartment building. But he got the idea of moving to Mexico, and he's like, you know what? We'll go to Tijuana. I've heard cool things about Tijuana. We could totally
the name sounds fancy.
We could totally go live in Tijuana and live like kings over in Tijuana. So he goes down there for a while, but thinking that it would make the money last, but he didn't end up being able to find like work down there.
Yeah.
Because
everyone was
exactly, and because everybody wants a job down there more than they do on the American side, it seems.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me. So he's like, well, I can't find a job. We're gonna go back to America then. We'll just cross over to San Ysidro so it doesn't cost us that much to move, kind of thing. So we'll be like down here, but on the American side.
We're gonna go 5 minutes this way.
Pretty much. We're gonna go to Hurley.
Yeah.
So they moved to San Ysidro in April of 1984, and my mom actually graduated high school in 84. Fun fact. So April of 1984, he got a job as a security guard, but by July, they dismissed him. They were just like, we don't need your services anymore because he had the physical limitations with his limp. He couldn't walk his rounds that he needed to be able to walk.
Yeah.
So he got like super pissed off about it.
And now there's laws against that.
Right, so July 15th, 1984, he admitted, I think something's wrong with me. I think I need to talk to a doctor. I think I need to talk to a therapist. Maybe I should get some help.
Yeah.
He admitted to his wife, that's how I'm feeling.
Which is a big step for him.
It's a huge step. But keep in mind, he keeps track of debts. It still comes important to things. So 2 days later, on July 17th, he was just like, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna get help. I'm gonna call and I'm gonna talk to somebody on like the hotline and get someone to talk to, like super urgent emergency style. But when he called, he was very calm and very like relaxed about it. He didn't sound agitated or stressed. So when they took his call, they wrote his name down wrong. Instead of calling him James Huberty, they called him James Schuberty. And because he was so calm, they marked it as non-urgent. They're like, oh, we don't have to get back to this too fast because he sounded like he was okay. I don't think he's going to hurt himself right away, kind of thing.
Now this is starting to sound a little familiar with the Schuberty thing.
Yeah. See, I figured it might. So they told him, somebody will call you in the next 48 hours. Because he got upset. And he called back and was like, why hasn't anybody called me?
Right.
And they figured all this out. And they're like, don't worry, though. I've got it marked. Somebody will call you within 48 hours. I promise. So he stays up late. Nobody calls. He goes to bed. Wakes up in the morning. He's like, you know what? I'm going to go to the zoo with my family. So he takes his family to the zoo. They have a great time. They come home. And 4 p.m. on... what would that be? July 18th, 1984. He just kind of decides, you know what? I'm going hunting. Hunting for humans. That was like a quote that he said, not a loose quote.
Oh man.
But he said he's going hunting for humans, and he grabbed his 9mm pistol, a 9mm Uzi, and a 12-gauge shotgun, and left his house. And on his way out, he actually looked to his daughter, and I can't remember exactly what he said. I didn't write it down, but I do remember it was his older daughter who was 14 at the time, so she definitely would have remembered him, like, looking at her and saying that before all of a sudden seeing all this stuff happening on the news.
Oh, man. I couldn't even imagine just, like, watching the news and being like, oh, that's my dad.
What's crazy about it is from where he lived with his family in San Ysidro to the McDonald's that he went to, it was, like, a block away. So, like, he was at that McDonald's in less than 5 minutes.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So he just was like, this looks like a good spot where people are.
But what's crazy is how long it ended up taking before the appropriate police response. That's a part of why the documentary is called 77 Minutes, and there are some... You can't blame the police on this one. You really can't. As much as it would be easy to say, well, why didn't they just do this? Why didn't they just do this?
Well,
why
yeah, I mean, when you have a
shooter
shooter involved, like, it's situational based.
So, 4 p.m., he walks out of his house. So, a little after 4 p.m., he shows up at the McDonald's. And he walks in, and the sun's setting, and it's got those big bay windows that always, when the sun sets on them, you get that real bad glare off of them, you know?
Yeah.
So you walk into that building, and you can see outside the building just fine, but nobody outside can see inside the building. So 4 p.m., he walks in, a little after 4 p.m., he walks in that door, and the first person he sees was a manager named Neva Kane. She was fresh back from her honeymoon.
Oh, no.
And that was the first person that he shot and killed before chaos just erupted. Absolute chaos. And it's
so sad.
This one gets a bit rough, and I'm not going to go too into detail. If you want more detail, you can watch 77 Minutes. It's on Tubi. You can watch it for free on Tubi. Not sponsored. Tubi, give me a call. So
let us know. All right.
So he sprayed after shooting and killing her, and everybody panics and everybody's trying to run, and there's children there. There's a play lamp. There's children there. And he's spraying at anybody that's trying to run. Absolutely anybody that's trying to run. Now, while he's spraying, not all the bullets are staying in the restaurant. And while this absolute chaos is happening in the restaurant, a stray bullet goes flying out a window across the street to the side of the McDonald's and hits a little girl. That was the first 911 call. There was no police response to the McDonald's prior to that 911 call
they
because
don't have cell phones.
Right. Well, that little girl got hit across the street and I forgot where they pulled her into. I want to say there was like a bank or something across the street that they like were pulling people into to try and get him off the street because he could see out the windows. Yeah. He was shooting at people on the street at points
Just
too.
anyone he could see, he was shooting.
Exactly. So the first officers that responded to that girl across the street. At first, they didn't realize that anything was happening at McDonald's. And in the documentary, they actually talk with that officer, and he's able to give a lot of perspective. A lot of the officers that were there that day are able to give a lot of perspective into why they responded the way they did and why they made the choices that they had to make, regardless of whether or not they have regrets about the decisions that they made.
Right.
And I mean, what I'm discussing of it is like a small percentage.
Oh yeah, this is why we always recommend to watch the documentaries that we've watched because
absolutely,
it's just, oh man, I'm gonna have to watch. I'll probably watch that tonight.
It's a good one. It's very intense. It's very graphic. They do show.
I have to ask, is it exactly 77 minutes long?
The documentary?
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't remember.
Oh, that'd be so fun.
That would be intense. You could do a quick.
I'll do a quick search.
A quick search while I keep talking. So, they were starting to get calls in eventually about the shooting by the McDonald's. And the officers actually got dispatched to the wrong McDonald's because it was a big enough area that they had an east side and a west side McDonald's on the same street name. I don't remember what the name or address of the McDonald's in particular was because it does not exist anymore for obvious reasons, I feel. So these two McDonald's locations were only like a block apart from each other, but they went to the wrong one. And there's chaos going on at this West Side McDonald's, so traffic's starting to back up, and when officers are starting to pull up, they're starting to cordon things off, which is clogging up traffic more, and he's shooting out through the windows, and it's absolute chaos. And that's just as the officers are starting to arrive. And shortly before the officers got there were 3 boys that were actually, I think they were crossing the parking lot to get, like, ice cream or something at a little place across the way, and they were cutting through the McDonald's parking lot, and there was people that were trying to warn them, because at this point the shots have been going on for a little while, but I guess they didn't know, I'm not sure. And as they were crossing the parking lot and coming up next to the building doors, they started getting shot at. And they were just walking across the parking lot with their bikes. And only one of the boys survived, and he only survived by playing dead. He had to... with where he collapsed and fell, because he did take 2 rounds himself.
Right.
And with where he collapsed and fell and played dead, he was, like, shielded by a car. So he couldn't see him as well, but he could see the other 2 kids pretty well. One of them got shot in the chest, I believe, or in the back. And one of them had, like, turned. I think it was the boy that survived that turned, and he ended up taking it in the arm instead of in the chest. But while he's laying there playing dead, he's watching his friends die. One of them died instantly, and one of them... By the time they were doing the crime scene and everything, they actually found a pile of vomit. He was puking up his stomach contents and crying for his mom before he died. Really God, sad.
That's... I don't like when kids die like that. That's...
I don't think anybody does, honestly.
Well, no, but it's just like, oh my God.
Yeah, this one's pretty heavy.
Yeah, just... the fact that, oh my God, because there's probably, if they just kind of got there sooner, that, like...
If they'd been, like, 10 minutes earlier or 10 minutes later, they wouldn't have ended up in the parking lot. Because if they had just been 10 minutes later, they would have been, like, stopped by the police cordoning everything off. If they had been 10 minutes sooner, he wouldn't have been there yet.
Oh, no.
But it doesn't stop there.
Oh, no.
And keep in mind, like I said, he was spraying... all inside the restaurant the entire time.
And he did this for 77 minutes?
77 minutes between his first shot and the last shot that was fired, which was the sniper shot that killed him. So he did die.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of figured that the cops would have killed him, because, I mean, there's no way that they're going to let him, live.
But a lot happened in this entire thing, and...
I'm going to interrupt to say that the 77-minute documentary is actually 98 minutes long.
Oh.
I think it's just, you got to think, I bet if you took out the credits in the intro...
Credits would only be a couple of minutes.
The credits in the intro might be close to it, but...
Credits in intro is like maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes tops if you're
They didn't want to big brain that much, but anyways...
Look, only you would have that idea, okay?
We're gonna make this episode 77 minutes long. No, we're not.
I can't talk about this for 77 minutes. I might cry. I'm not even through the first page, and I've still got like 3 pages to go.
Oh, man. And we're already to kids crying for their mom. Oh, God.
It'll be okay, I promise.
Where's Bella when you need her? Bella, please.
Bella, come snuggle, please.
Please, Bella.
Need help. So, that one little boy is left lying in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Just pretending to be dead the entire time. And just not moving. And hoping he doesn't get shot at again. And a lot of other people outside were targeted as well. Like, he'd look out the windows, and if he saw somebody across the street, or if he saw a cop car, he'd shoot to keep people back, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, when all of this was, like, just kind of starting up, so he left his house at 4 p.m., and then this happened, and then 4:10 was when the first general emergency call came in, and that got called in by Mike Rosario. It was the post office that they were taking people into, not a bank that was across the street. So Mike Rosario responded for the little girl that had gotten shot. They took her into the post office to get shelter, kind of thing, and a lot of people were trying to just like hide, because anybody that's out on the streets,
because even if you get away from the McDonald's, like, you're still a target.
Yeah, so he responds to the post office, and he pulled up to the back of the post office, and he just happened to see Huberty walk past a doorway with the long-barreled Uzi, like, across his chest kind of thing, and he's like, oh,
so he just caught him at a glance.
That was when they realized, oh shit, something's going down at McDonald's.
And this is more than just like, oh, someone was fucking around with a gun and accidentally shot a little kid kind of thing.
Right, and that call being at 4:10, it only taking like 4 minutes for him to get from his house to the McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
That means the shooting was going on for 5 to 6 minutes
before
an officer even knew what was going on, kind of thing. And he called general emergency because he's like, fuck, like, I've only got a .38 caliber revolver on me.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing I can do.
Right.
So he calls that general emergency, and Huberty is just, he's pacing because he knows somebody's gonna call the cops on this. Like, they're gonna show up. And
yeah, he's just waiting for it.
And this, yeah, so he keeps telling people, because he did his initial show of force, I guess, by like spraying at people, and then, you know, people start like just laying there terrified, like trying not to move, trying to protect children. There's people that have been shot but they're not dead, kind of thing, and they're just kind of like trying to shield kids. There's parents with babies, like all ages of people. And I do want to emphasize again, if you watch that documentary, it shows everything. It shows police footage of walking into that building for the first time, and
like once everything's done.
Yes. It gets very, very heavy. So
yeah, a lot of discretion there.
Huberty's like, well, if you guys just stay quiet and don't fucking move, I won't shoot you anymore. Just stop moving. He's anxious. He's pacing. He's waiting to see what's gonna happen next and what move the cops are gonna make.
At this point, he's probably like gone out of that first initial like adrenaline rush and just went like, oh shit, like
right.
I just did this. Now what am I gonna do?
Right. And I mean, all this panic is going on. There's scared kids. Kids are crying. Kids are screaming, and he's basically like, shut up, those fucking kids.
Right.
Like he's getting super antsy, and he's pacing around, and he's shooting at dead bodies to make sure they're dead or something. I guess I'm not sure. Maybe he's just like, oh, you know.
Or hearing the voices and being like, oh, that one's still alive, man.
Maybe. I mean, there's no real way to know.
No.
So, going back to the little boy survivor, because apparently I wrote more notes after the fact. The single survivor of the 3 boys that got shot in the parking lot was Joshua Coleman. He played dead outside for over an hour after watching his friends die. His friends' names were David Flores and Omar Hernandez, and Omar's the one that was crying for his mom. He was so... I love old people, but sometimes they just need glasses, you know? So, there's these 3 boys dead in the parking lot. Well, 1 playing dead.
Yeah.
2 dead. And, Miguel and his wife Ada Victoria, completely oblivious that anything was going on, and they were like, you know what, it's supper time, let's go down to the McDonald's. And Ada's walking up to the door, and she puts her hand on the handle, and she's not really paying attention, and Huberty's just there at the door and shoots her right in the chest. And Miguel's just heartbroken, and he hits the ground, and he's like, no, my wife, and he looks up at Huberty, like, to be like, why would you do this? And then Huberty shoots him as well. And,
oh no.
Yeah, and young Josh Coleman was playing dead in the parking lot, and his head was facing that way. He had to watch that happen. So I want to say he was like somewhere between like 8 and 12, maybe. I can't remember exactly. And not only has he been shot twice, but now he's watched 4 people die. Like, directly in front of him.
And that's not even mentioning to what he can see through the windows.
Exactly. And he is still around, still has survived. So,
yeah, but oh my god.
Can you, that had to have been horrible. And he was just like, me and my friends are gonna go get some ice cream. And then all of this happened. It's,
Because my brain goes, would play dead and turn your head the other way, but like, you want to see if the
he's,
person's coming up to you.
Well, I mean, his instinct was just play dead, don't move, just drop. Like, he kept telling himself, you know, I can't hold my breath, I've got to breathe, but he's trying to take as shallow a breaths as possible. And he's been shot, so he's in pain, but he's just like, you know, if I don't move, maybe he won't shoot me again. And thankfully, he didn't get shot again.
That's so
and he was
sad.
able to survive to tell his story.
Is he in the documentary?
He is in the documentary.
Oh,
yeah.
now I really gotta watch it.
Yeah.
Because, oh my god.
So there were also employees in the kitchen. They were eventually found and shot at, and in the initial shooting, they weren't. They were just kind of hiding, and he didn't really go in the kitchen right away. At least not immediately. Maggie Padilla, I believe it's Padilla, based on location, I'm gonna assume that the names are a bit more Hispanic in origin. Wendy Flanagan, which is absolutely not Hispanic in origin.
No.
And Albert Leos, I want to say Leos, I'm not sure.
Is it Leos?
Leos.
I think that might be Leos.
I'm not sure. But, so they were in the kitchen, and Huberty walks in, and they were like, oh, fuck, he's gonna, because there's people crying, so, oh, fuck, we gotta split up, and we gotta get the fuck out of here, like, he's gonna shoot at us. So, Maggie looks at Wendy. This is Wendy, you gotta run. You run this way, and I'll run that way. And she, like, gives Wendy a little go. She turns to go the other way, and Maggie's shot. Maggie was killed in the kitchen. Wendy did get away. And Albert, I believe he was actually hiding with two different people than these ones. I think it was Maggie and Wendy that were hiding together, and Albert was hiding with some other people, but I'm not positive. They might have all been hiding together. It was a little bit muddy in the documentary, I guess, on that fact.
Right, with everything going on, you're not going to know logistics like that.
But, I mean, Huberty sprays through the kitchen, and they're all split off trying to run. Maggie gets shot and killed. Wendy manages to get down a set of stairs to, like, a closet that they had down there. I'm not sure if it was like a utility closet or a storage closet, but there was an emergency exit in there. The emergency exit was locked. Like, padlocked.
What's the fucking point of emergency exit if you're gonna padlock it?
So, Wendy specifically brought that up when she talks in the documentary and said that it was supposedly to prevent food theft. What's the purpose of the emergency exit? Is right.
Now that pisses me off.
Right.
That pisses me off.
Albert, though. Albert took 5 shots before Huberty ran out of ammo. And he was keeping his ammo in the lobby for some reason. I mean, he had a lot of fucking ammo.
Yeah.
So he probably brought it in, dropped his shit, and he was like, I'm the guy with the gun, so it doesn't matter if they can get the ammo anyway. Like, so he goes back out by the lobby to get some more ammo because he shot at Albert 5 times. He's like, fuck, I'm empty.
Yeah.
So while he's in the lobby, Albert's like, well, I gotta get the fuck out of here. So being shot 5 times, he dragged himself down the stairs and ended up in the closet with Wendy. And he managed to probably save his own life by using his shoelaces as tourniquets, because he had taken a shot in the arm and in the leg, and they were bleeding pretty bad kind of thing.
So smart.
That's what I was thinking too, honestly. But he actually became a cop for San Diego, and San Diego was like one of the departments that responded to this.
Yeah, because for an incident like that, they usually do pull a lot of surrounding area policemen over. Right, especially in huge situations like that. And the entire time, they're still waiting for SWAT. They knew that SWAT needed to be there for this situation. Yeah.
But they've been shutting down traffic. So SWAT's struggling. So, 5:02 p.m.
So an hour has passed already, basically.
An hour has passed. SWAT snipers finally arrive, and they post up on the roof of the post office. I just really wanted to be able to say that phrase, so I wrote it down specifically.
They literally got there 17 minutes before the end of it?
Before the end of
it. The police were only there for 17 minutes of this.
The SWAT team.
SWAT team.
Was only there for
I was going to say, that's...
There were officers on site, but based on what was happening and the fact that they could not see in through the windows, they didn't know if it was
people that could actually do anything were only there for 17 minutes.
Exactly. But he also had the 9mm pistol, the Uzi, and the shotgun. Yeah. And they can't see into the building. They don't know if it's 1 shooter or 3 shooters.
Right.
So they don't know what's going on.
So it's kind of like with the FedEx one, they didn't know.
Even that first officer with his .38 revolver, he said he very easily could have done something right then and there, but he did not know if there was only one attacker. And if he shot that one guy, who's to say that the others weren't going to do something? They didn't know.
Right.
There was a lack of information, and they've always got to assume the worst and prepare for the worst in those situations. So that's why I don't feel like the officers were at fault for this.
No, because it's not like they waited just to wait. They waited because they also, I mean, they have their own lives to protect. They're human.
Exactly.
They have that survival instinct, but they also, like, know that he's going to kill as many people as he's wanting to kill, and they can't really stop that until they have the means to do so, and they know how many people are there.
How many threats? They need to do proper threat assessment, which...
Because maybe they can see one person in the lobby, but they don't know who's, like, behind the counter.
Exactly. Or who's in the kitchen, or who's in the bathrooms, or anywhere.
Right.
Or in Playland. You don't know. So, 5:02, the SWAT snipers arrive. They're posted up on the roof of the post office. And Huberty keeps shooting out through the windows just to be like, fuck you, back off. Like, I'm doing my thing in here. And the McDonald's windows, because that sun angle, and they're the laminated windows that have the plastic layer in them. So it's like glass and then plastic and then
So
glass.
they're not shattering when he's shooting through them.
No, it's just punching holes through them, but they're not like exploding and shrapnel falling down. The doors completely exploded, like the driver's side window of a car, how that just kind of splinters into a million pieces. Yeah. So, but the big bay windows, those had that plastic lamination, so they wouldn't do that. So there's still a lot of reflection off of those windows, and the sun's setting behind them. They can't see shit in the building. Yeah. They don't know if they're gonna hit a hostage. They don't know if there's more than one assailant. They're trying to assess the situation. But Huberty ended up stepping in front of one of the shattered doors. And that's when the sniper was able to take the shot.
Oh, man, that's so lucky.
It is. Now, a lot of people say that it took him too long to take the shot, and why did he wait the 17 minutes? Well, he couldn't just shoot through the window.
No.
They did not know how many people were in there. They couldn't see into the building. There was so many different
variables
that they couldn't account for. And there's a lot of people that are blaming this whole red light, green light thing, because the SWAT commander was actually his pager. Back in the 80s, it was pagers and beepers and things like that. It wasn't just call me on my cell phone, like you said earlier. Yeah. So for some reason, his beeper wasn't working. He didn't get the call right away. He ended up being gotten a hold of, but it was later on after the fact. So a lot of people are saying, well, because the SWAT commander didn't give the green light to shoot, they couldn't shoot, but that is not the case. It's a terminology disagreement type of thing. I mean, with the phrase green light when it comes to SWAT snipers, as they explained in the documentary, as the SWAT commander himself explained in the documentary, as I knocked my microphone over, having a green light means that you can take out the target as needed, but you still have to do your threat assessment kind of stuff.
Yeah, because it's not like, oh, shoot blindly. Like, you can take a shot right now. It's like, no, you have to wait for you to have one that's going to be effective.
And the SWAT commander wasn't on scene. He didn't have the whole situation, so he couldn't really give a proper red light, green light diagnosis. Right. However, once that sniper saw that opportunity, and I think the sniper is in the documentary as well, once he saw that opportunity to be like, okay, I can end this and know that it'll be over now, kind of thing, that's when he took the shot. So at 5:20, he was called in dead, and as was the policy at the time, and I think it still is the policy, and if it still is the policy, I personally am okay with that. Some people are a little weird about it, but they cuffed his corpse. Yeah. And I feel like you should cuff the corpse because you should
they don't know entirely.
You should be easily able to identify the bad guy when you walk into a room of bodies, which is what they were walking into.
And there's also times where people who, for lack of a better term, kind of come back to life.
Kind of.
Because sometimes your heart just stops, and then sometimes your heart kind of just starts going again, but it's also just like, they just know he's been shot.
Right.
They don't know if he's, like, they're not gonna be running in and, like, doing medical care on him.
And
so it's just like, okay, you know what, cuff him, so if he starts running, then we know it's him, not just some random person.
What's crazy is the alarms in the McDonald's didn't go off till towards the end. Like the security
panic
alarm,
alarms
the
and
bat,
stuff.
bat, fire alarm, everything.
Yeah.
Like any kind of alarm. So right as this was all ending and the sniper took that shot, the alarms are starting to go off and things, and now all of a sudden everybody that's hiding so they don't get shot, all they can hear is these alarms. And the officers are coming in trying to get the survivors out. They're banging on the door and being like, come on out, it's all over. And they're hiding in the closet like, no, he's going to kill me, thinking it's him on the other side of the door. But they did end up getting some people out. Not as many as they would have hoped, that's for sure.
Right.
So in all total, as is the title of the documentary, the shooting lasted 77 minutes from the first shot that Huberty took, the first shot that killed Neva Kane, the manager, when he first walked in, to the sniper shot that killed him. It was 77 minutes total. There were 21 people killed. 19 of them were wounded. The official count of deaths was actually increased after the fact, like way after the fact.
Because people are gonna die from injuries.
No, a lot of people actually survived from the injuries. 21 killed, 19 wounded. The shooter, James Huberty, was also killed, but one of the people that was killed was pregnant. So there are 22 official victims of this massacre, 21 that were reported on the day because it was an unknown thing at the time. One of the survivors was a baby named Carla Felix. She was actually in her mom's arms when her mom got shot. Her mom took a bullet to the eye, but survived.
Oh, God.
She's got a fake eye now. And Carla was also shot. Carla, as a baby, was shot in the head and in the back and managed to survive because one of the officers that responded, this does come up in the documentary. I don't have notes on it, so it's going to be a little bit loose, but so baby Carla got shot, and I believe she got handed off to someone, and that was when they do interview her mom. Her mom's name was Maricela. I believe her husband was there at the time as well, Carla's dad.
Yeah.
And he was like, give me the baby, and passed the baby off to somebody else, and she got shot, Maricela got shot, and sees him come back without the baby, and she just panics, and she, bam, passed out, kind of thing. Like, she fainted right then and there.
Yeah.
And I believe that he died. Now, I might be wrong on this, because, like I said, I didn't take some of the notes. I did want to get a lot of the names out there, but some of the stories are really hard to talk about.
Yeah.
So the mom did survive, and they were sent to separate hospitals because Carla was saved by the stranger who took her, was literally like holding on to her wounds, and an officer just happened to pull up, and she like jumped in his car and was like, this baby's been shot, we gotta get to a hospital now. And he's like, let's go.
Wow.
So he's driving down the road crazy fast, one arm over, like holding on to this baby's wounds, while the other lady's also holding on to this baby's wounds. She did survive. And she did get reunited with her mom later on, because they were sent totally different hospitals. I mean, everybody was going everywhere. It was chaos. So there was originally 50 people in the restaurant. Only about 15 of them made it out walking. There were 251 rounds in total that were fired by Huberty, and then the one by the SWAT sniper that killed him. So like I said, because of technology restrictions at the time, the SWAT commander wasn't reached right away. They didn't get a hold of him until 4:30. So a lot of people, like I said, do feel that delay kind of played into a part, but the sniper just couldn't see through the window. And with the amount of just everything everywhere, like in the video you can see the chalk outlines and everything. Like they outlined everybody. They didn't blur anything. They did not blur anything, and it took days to be able to ID all of the victims because of tech restrictions. Once again, like everything, there was computers weren't a huge thing. Like, I
No,
don't think
because
the internet was
I think
around
the
yet.
one database was like just coming into.
Well,
like,
they actually
its
had to
infancy.
take Polaroid pictures of the victims post-mortem and have them ID'd by the general public, manual identification. So they had to set up these photos and have people come in that haven't heard from their family members. They'd be like, "Can you please tell me
yours?
is this baby your baby? Is this your daughter? Is this your son? Is this your grandfather?" There was a huge variety of ages there.
Oh no.
And to date is seen as California's deadliest mass shooting. They still don't actually know 100% what caused him to do it. It could have been schizophrenia. It
From not
could
getting
have
that
been
phone
suicidal
call.
ideation. But he also could have done it as revenge. He could have felt that society owed him something for not returning that phone call. So
Yeah, that's what leads me to believe that it was just like all of these things, and he just mentally snapped.
Yeah. And his parents hugely outlived him, even though his mom had split. His mom lived until 1992, and his dad lived until 2008, and considering they were both born in, like, the early 1900s,
Yeah.
like 1910s, that's kind of impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost 100 years old, yeah.
Yeah, so for a while, as like a solidarity thing for the victims, McDonald's was like, well, we're not going to run any advertisements for a while, and Burger King's like, you know what? Yeah, us too. Like, that was kind of, like, super shitty, and I'm not going to try and, like, take advantage of you not having ads by running more. Like, let's just cool down for a little while and mourn as a nation, because just, this was such a huge thing.
What about the wife and kids? Like, what did...
They were just at the house.
Like,
the time that this was happening, they didn't really know a whole lot of what was happening. But so Huberty got cremated July 23rd, 1984. He got interred in Ohio.
Yeah.
So that's where he was from. They would get him out of here. But his wife and his daughters got death threats all the time. Like, all the time.
Why?
And they had absolutely nothing to do with it.
I don't understand why people do that. That when there's like mass shooters and all that kind of stuff, they attack the family. The family in most fucking cases are just as shocked.
Exactly. And I intentionally didn't mention the daughters' names. I don't know if the daughters' names have been changed or not, or if they maintain their names or what. I would imagine they probably want to change the names, but I did mention his wife by name just because
she was already kind of trying to leave anyway.
She was trying to get him to get help.
Right.
He just wasn't listening, just like we talked about last week. Like,
if you don't want the help, they're not gonna.
Exactly. And if you're not willing to work for the help, like, you gotta realize that it's, especially nowadays, like 1984 was one thing, but nowadays everybody's very instant gratification, and you gotta realize that help can't always come on your terms.
Right. And it's not going to come instantly. Change isn't going to come
instantaneous. Exactly. And that's part of what set him off, was he was like, well, I just didn't get that phone call fast enough.
Like, so that makes me feel like, what would have happened if they got his name right and they called him right away and he wasn't so calm on the phone?
But that's just it, is not everybody reacts to stressors in the same way either. I mean...
Right. I mean, what if he'd been like, I know I sound calm, but this isn't okay.
I feel like
kind
if
of thing.
someone is calling a crisis hotline, there should not be a difference between critical and non-critical.
Oh no, they should be
situations. They should all be handled exactly the same. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, a local church ended up holding back-to-back funerals. Like, we'll put this coffin up in front, family file in, we'll hold a service, family file out, swap coffins, family file in, just back to back to back, just to try and be able to get funerals to happen in a timely manner, because you're in the desert.
The morgue only has so much room.
You want to be able to get things progressed quickly before things end up not so good.
Yeah.
But San Diego did, as a result, change how the police respond to these situations. They've got better tactical training now, obviously. They've got better weapons and equipment for certain situations. They fixed up this whole red light, green light when it comes to the sniper shot sort of situation. And McDonald's, man, they move quick. So within 2 days of this whole thing happening,
don't tell me it was up and running again.
Being cleared, they had everything repaired and cleaned. But July 24th, 1984, they decided, we're not going to reopen this. Like, this
okay, I was going to say, I don't know why that was the thing that made me cry.
They spent so much money remodeling it, and they're like, you know what? This is a bad idea. Nobody's going to want to eat here.
No.
This was such a horrible crime.
Why was that the thing that made me fucking cry? Was the fact that this corporation was like, well, we got to get this bitch up and running again.
Right. Thankfully, McDonald's in 1984 had a heart.
Oh my god. They wouldn't fucking care now. They'd be like, can you still come to work?
Can you come to work, please? We're short-handed.
Are you flipping those burgers still? Just put a Band-Aid.
So September 26th, 1984, under the darkness of midnight night. I wanted to say midnight night. It made me feel special. The building was demolished. They
just did it in the middle of the night.
They did it in the middle of the night. They didn't want to make it a spectacle. They were like, let's get rid of this dark stain.
I'm glad that they had that much of fucking sense.
They donated the land to the city with the stipulation that no restaurant ever be built there.
Do you know what it is now?
Actually, in February of 1984, that land was bought by Southwestern College with an agreement that a 300 square foot area be allocated for like a permanent memorial for this particular thing.
That's nice.
Yes. So in 1990, a memorial was unveiled. It was 21 pillars of varying heights to represent all the various ages and races and men and women and children, and they wanted to encompass the fact that there was a lot of diversity there. I mean, it was right on the border of Mexico. There was Hispanic families there. There was white families there. There were just all sorts of different kinds of families there. And every year on the anniversary, they decorate the pillars and everything. And because it's a huge Mexican culture right there, it's right on the border. During the 3 days of celebration for the Mexican Day of the Dead, everything's done up there so that they can have their memorials. And there were attempted lawsuits as a result of this. A lot of the families of a lot of the victims wanted to blame McDonald's.
What? Just, okay.
So...
Just because it happened at a McDonald's doesn't make it McDonald's fault.
Right.
But you can get upset with them of why the alarms took so long to go off. But that could also just be he shot something vital to the alarms too.
Right.
So
the alarms aren't going to be set during operational hours.
No, I mean in my brain, someone would probably try to pull the fire alarm to make much noise.
That's the alarm that ended up going off, was the fire alarm. So when all of this started, they were actively cooking food. There's French fryers cooking away in the fryer. There's burgers on the grill, and things started getting smoky. And
so they only set off because shit was burning on the grill?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So people were, they're upset. They're like, man, we hate you, McDonald's. Like, our families died because they were there eating your food. And
well, I hate to break it to you.
I'm sorry for laughing. I shouldn't be laughing.
I really hate to make this joke, but just give it 20 years and your arteries are clogged anyway.
Don't sue us, McDonald's.
Please don't.
So
to eat there regularly.
They were upset. They were angry. They wanted someone to blame,
and the person
That's
that
what
they could blame was dead.
They got mad at the SWAT team, saying, "Well, if the SWAT team had been there faster, then this wouldn't have happened." And the fact of the matter is, traffic had to get shut down to protect the general public.
Yeah, and that's a lot of fucking traffic in that area.
That was what delayed the SWAT team.
Man, this one's been a roller coaster of emotions for me.
Crazy. You've cried a little bit. You've laughed a little bit.
I'm
you've been
angry.
Shocked. You've been mad. So in July of 1987, the California Court of Appeals, because everybody's like lawsuit happy, they're
right.
You guys, you can't blame McDonald's. You can't blame any business for a situation like that. This was an unforeseen circumstance. Like, they actually quoted directly to say, McDonald's or any other business is not responsible to supply security or protection from, quote, unforeseeable assaults by murderous madmen.
What a statement.
And
but
even if they have security there, it wouldn't have stopped Hubert.
Yeah, because it's the first fucking person he's gonna shoot.
Exactly. And they defended the Court of Appeals defended the police actions. It's because the info on the number of suspects that were in there, they were limited on information. They couldn't see in through the windows. They had like nothing to go on.
Yeah, it's also the 80s. They've never had a situation like this, really, because mass shootings weren't really a thing. So they're not gonna really know how, like, obviously they get trained. Right. And, like, they always get trained for the possibilities, but once you're actually in that situation...
You can't tell how your adrenaline's
you're not going to know how to handle it, because every situation's so different and so unique.
Exactly.
But it's just, like, what if he went at noon? Like, even that time change, and not even having the sun glaring in the windows, like, that would have changed things so drastically, because the police would have been there, be like, it's one person, all right, bang, like,
yeah, if it had just been a different time of day, which kind of makes you wonder if he did it that way, maybe on purpose. He was very, he wasn't a stupid man. I mean, he had gone to college a few different times for a few different things.
Because if he liked walking, and that was only a block away.
He did drive his car. I mean, he brought a whole bunch of ammo with him.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, prior to this, he's probably walked past that McDonald's multiple times or driven past it and saw, can't really see in there during this time. This time of year. And, like, probably, because it's premeditated. It wasn't just a quick decision, because he did round up stuff and everything like that.
It's hard to say, though. I mean, it is premeditated to the extent of he was like, all right, I'm gonna go hunt people now.
Yeah, because premeditation isn't like, oh, you plan months for it. It could be like, okay, 15 minutes before you made a plan, all right, like, and you went. That's
right. But it could still, I feel, be seen as an impulse decision.
Yeah. I mean, I can see it both ways. I really do think that he just mentally snapped.
He could have looked at it like earlier on, he was starting to get more paranoid. He was starting to not trust people. From early on, he was keeping track of, like, debts that were owed to him, kind of thing. Well, he could have had a premeditated, like, he go to if I'm going to snap, I'm going to snap
the same day?
Yeah, he went to the zoo that morning with his family. I think that may have been to try and give a chance to be like, okay, if they don't call shortly after we get back from the zoo, then time's up, and I'm gonna go hunting for humans.
He must have, like, woken up and been like, you know what? If they forget about me and they don't, care about me, then I'm gonna go make them care, kind of thing. Like, they didn't see me as a threat. Well, now I'm a threat to everyone else, kind of thing.
Exactly. And I mean, before he left his house, he looked at his wife and he said, I want to kiss you goodbye one last time, kind of thing.
That's so suspicious. I would instantly, like, if knowing, like, his wife knows that he needed help. And if he would have said something like that, it would have been like, all right, yeah, sweetie, 911, hello.
But she had no idea where he was going.
Right.
She didn't know that I don't think she would have known that he had all of that stuff loaded. But he did, before he left the house, look back at her and say, I'm going hunting for humans. Why? So that should have alerted her. But
why didn't they call? But again, they don't know where he's going.
Even if she had called, she doesn't know. They're right off the highway. You could probably get anywhere pretty fast without anybody knowing. She didn't know he was just going a block away until all of a sudden everything started happening.
Man.
So, the McDonald's massacre. We didn't do a snack in the middle today. I just went to McDonald's and picked up some French fries. But I don't want to eat them anymore.
No. But it's just like, oh my god. Yeah.
That one was a doozy.
That one was a doozy.
How would you rate that on the doozy scale?
Oh yeah, so we have this new thing called the doozy scale, right? We'll leave a poll down for you guys to answer this.
Yes.
So we're doing one the lowest 5. Are we doing 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 5?
I think we're gonna do 1 out of 5. So if you think it was kind of shitty and kind of blah and kind of poorly told, or just, I mean, I guess if you don't think it was,
Crazy.
let's be honest, a lot of people are gonna be rating this 5 doozies. So 1 is obviously a low score, 5 is a high score. If it was blah, it's a 1. If it was like the most intense thing you've heard in a hot minute, it's a 5. Like,
This was a solid, like, 4 for me.
It's up there.
Yeah.
It actually, I refused to go to sleep until I finished researching this one night, and I spent a solid like 6 hours on it, just writing. I've got 2 pages front and back, including like stuff that's written where it's like 2 rows of text on each line.
Yeah, like, I would cry reading your notes right now. But it's
a lot of it, like, it pops it up into my memory because I spent a lot of time researching this one because
Right. I'm definitely gonna go to, like,
I just
watch
don't
that
understand why, you know?
It's the kids that get me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't give a shit about, like, you know, adults getting shot or anything like that, but it's also the old
I
couple
mean,
that, like, just were so oblivious.
Yeah, just, we're
But
gonna...
also makes me think, why did they have their license if they didn't even realize that, like, oh, this place has bullet holes. Let me just go in and get a burger. But it's like,
Yeah.
oh my god. But also, like, the kid that watched them, like, the dude cry for his, like, wife. Like, the little kid watched this dude, like,
Joshua,
my wife.
He's in the documentary.
Oh, man.
It's a very intense documentary.
I'm gonna have to watch that tonight just so I get this emotional roller coaster just done and over with in one day.
It's free on Tubi.
Okay.
If you sign up for Tubi, you can save your spot, but I know you're just gonna binge watch it, so you won't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
This one was heavy.
Also, let us know how this one sounds, because we have a
hopefully it
really
sounds
fancy
better.
setup.
We've got a nice fancy new soundboard, and we've each got our own microphones. So hopefully
We're actually facing each other, so
Yeah.
we're not just staring off into oblivion while talking.
yeah.
Or being like me, I just stare at one of your cats, because
It's very easy to do. They're still stare-atable.
yeah.
So, secret surprise for you guys. We're actually also going to be doing a bonus episode sometime this week. I won't tell you when. So make sure you keep an eye on the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a doozy.
That one was actually a doozy.
Rated on the doozy scale
On the
for
doozy
us.
scale.
And we'll see you guys for the next one.
Bye.
Bye.